Hey guys, Big J here from the Centre Bounce. It's been a bloody amazing preseason. Thanks for jumping on, watching all the videos, coming on the live streams, just having a lot of fun with us along the way. In today's video, I'm going to show you my team. Now, there may be some changes coming after the team sheets. That magical period between 6:40 when the team sheets drop and then 7:40 when the first game is, it's all carnage. Make sure you keep refreshing your team because some players might not get named, some players do. Hope you guys enjoy the video. This year, I think, has been the hardest year for us to pick a team in Supercoach in a very long time. It almost feels like round zero was a blessing and a curse. Yes, we did get to know all the players that were playing and how good they were going to be, but then we get biased and we get pushed towards, cool, we have to go in and pick those players now. We don't get to go into it blind or just after the preseason games and see what the makeup's going to be like and things like that. Does it hurt us that there was an actual official preseason game where clubs, I'm going to call it preseason, but round zero game, where clubs were actually playing their best players in their best positions because premiership points are on the line? Or does it not hurt us the other way where half the other teams played a preseason game and, players got rested. A lot of guys came on. It wasn't really best 22. There were like 28 players picked, and positional things. A lot of that happened along that way. Let me know down in the comments. Were you guys swayed by a lot of the round zero players and their high break evens or low break evens or just scoring on field, or did you kind of take a lot more out of the preseason games? And hopefully, you guys took a lot out of our recordings as well because we were busting our guts to get those happening. We're almost at the 2K mark. Hopefully, if you guys haven't subscribed, I think about 60 to 70% of you guys who watch our content aren't subscribed. If you can do that for us, that'd be amazing. Smash that like button, smash the subscribe, get us to 2K before the game tomorrow. I'd be so appreciative. But here's the team. Let's go through it. Heading in the back line. Now, the back line and the forward line were basically set. Every iteration of the team that I've made for a long time has had the same 12 players. Guys that are going to score well, guys I have faith in, but then also players who are going to make us a lot of money. And that's kind of the mix that we have to have. So I'm going to run through the backline players and the forward line players. It's really R1 that's been quite hard to pick for me. And then a lot of the midfielders as well, outside of the rookies, of course. First up, Nick Dacos, not much to say there. We know what the player is going to do. We know how well he's going to score for us in Supercoach. And yeah, very, very happy selection. Next up, we have Harry Sheezel. I'm a big fan of Sheezel. It's a bit of a toss-up between him and Houston. The price, the 40K, opens up a lot of opportunities for me. And it really does mean that, hey, I'm actually in for the long haul. I believe Sheezel is going to be that next level player for us. Got a 130 odd in the preseason game. So very, very happy there. The ball is going to be in North Melbourne's defense a lot. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of players playing halfback for North, which is a bit tricky. But in saying that, the ball's going to be there a lot. It's going to be Zach Fisher, Sheezel, and then the rest. So that's why I've got him in the team. Next up, we have Hayden Young. Now, midfield aside, we know he's going to be playing a lot of midfield time. In the preseason game, came in and kicked 2 goals. Bloody fantastic. But I was really impressed with, similar to his form with Dawson, his mobility around the ground and ability to do different things as well. So we saw him in the back line. I don't know if he got any kickouts, but he definitely was kind of the second or third ball taker from that back line towards the midfield. He obviously played midfield and got CBAs, and then he roamed through the forward line so he could kick his 2 goals. So the versatility's there. We know the scoring's there. Hopefully you guys have jumped on. What is he currently? 44%. So there's a lot of people that aren't picking Hayden Young. We'll see what happens with that. No early buys as well, which is fantastic. Next up is scooting all the way down to the bottom. Is big Zach Williams, 60% owned. You know what you're going to get from Zach Williams. If he pumps out a 60 or a 70, you're probably pretty happy with the score. But I think he's going to end up being a little bit more than that. It's what we want to see, really. Next up on our list is Josh Gibcus. Now, I was very sketch about this pick coming into the season or coming into the preseason, but he definitely showed me what he can do. really good super coach to AFL fantasy dream team ratio, which is just coming a lot from his interceptions and also his one percenters, which aren't really, I don't think, scored as well in those formats. But in Supercoach, we know how effective they are, and Supercoach is all about being effective on field, how well you use the ball, things like that. So in Gibkis's case, locked on field for me. Someone else who is locked on field is Blake Howes. Now, this guy came out of nowhere, was super impressive. You guys know what he did. Big 91 on field last week and really has cemented that spot, even more so with Laurie being out for a long time. Took over the Mitch Hibberd role. Laurie out. Howes is going to cement himself down there. And I think with Joel Smith obviously being out and then Petty playing forward, there definitely looks like there's a spot for him. And especially with Salem in the midfield as well. So something to look out for, but that's why he's in my team and why I'm starting him. You guys should be too. It's going to make you a lot of money. Next up, we have Zach Reed, similar to House, set position on field, going to play third tall interceptor or potentially second tall. He might not come out and score 80 odds every week, but it's being best 22, got a roll. You know what you're going to get from him. Our last player in the back line is very, very cheap. Preseason supplementary player, Ethan Phillips. Now, with Blank being out, the Hawks need to play him. He only scored a 50 odd, but it was a very solid 50. And the best thing about it was that he played majority of the game as well. He wasn't someone that was used as a sub and came on and came off and things like that. And he will take time. But at 102K, a 50 is going to make you your 150K. That's all you need from him. He's a cash cow, D8 position. Like, you're not expecting him to play on field. And potentially with the Dacos out, you could go Phillips or Reed as a sub swap for him during the early buy rounds. So we'll see what happens there. Heading over to the forward line. Now, I'm going to touch on the midfield last because it's a doozy. And it's probably the position between now and tomorrow that I'm going to change a lot of things around, just depending on what's happening as well. And my R1 as well. But yeah. I have gone Sam Flanders, F1. We know what he did in the preseason game. And to be honest, I didn't watch a lot of the Gold Coast game before. I think they played Brisbane. And, maybe that kind of helped me a little bit. I just saw the score sheet and was like, Flanders, cool, 60, not worth it. He's come in, he's come out with like a 120, and he wasn't even getting a lot of the CBAs. He was almost just used as that pressure player and that run-through player, which is exactly what we want. We're not going to get the 120 every week, but he should be able to score us the points that we need to, and that's why he's in the team. Another one who should be able to score points very early is Isaac Heaney. Now, the coach has basically come out and said, Heaney, Parker's injured, Mills is injured, Taylor Adams is injured. You're going to play majority mid for us for a while. And in round 0, he came out and did that. Boy, oh boy, 144. We're not going to expect that every week. But if Heaney has another good 1 or 2 more scores, he's going to jump up in cash. And Heaney, I'm predicting, is going to be one of these top premium midfielders in a few weeks. Maybe not the first time, but his run early versus, I'm going to say, depleted, not as good midfields, it's going to be something fun to watch. So stay tuned for that, really. Next up is, where is he? Zach Fisher. We know he's running off the halfback. We know how good the player is going to be. There's not much else to say. If you don't have Zach Fisher in your team, if you're one of what? Wow, Zach Fisher's only 35% owned. That's going to be interesting. I think Luke Jackson is more, and Zach Fisher could be Luke Jackson's price in like 5 weeks. So, yeah, we'll wait and see. Hopefully his hammies hold up. If they do, halfbacks run off him, and we know how strong Jack Zeeble, Aaron Hall, Harry Sheezel was last year in that position. I'm not expecting bonkers numbers, but he did get 36 touches in the preseason game. So something to watch out for. They use him as the running carry player off halfback, and he was taking kickouts like no one's business. They were literally throwing the ball to him, waiting for him to be there so they could pass to him. It's what we want to see. Similar to an Impey a few years ago, where they'd literally wait for him to be behind him to pass, and then he'd run through. Something to watch out for, but 378K, you can do a lot worse. Next up we have is James Jordan. 81 is fine. I think he can actually come in and score similar to that next week, or maybe even potentially a little bit better. but we're not expecting monster scores. He's only 275k. Comes out and scores us an 80 average, mate. Bank, making us all the money. That's all we need. The scoring on field as well. Don't expect to keep Jordan a long time, but you should be able to flip him at his buy if he's made enough, obviously. So yeah, could end up another midfield premium for us. The big rush this year is to get these players in because they're the ones who are going to make us bonkers scores throughout the year. And there is quite a few players who are very expensive, and there are a lot of midfielders who are going to drop in price really quick. Round 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 is when we want to get those players in. And, mate, it just looks phenomenal for us. So, yeah, pretty happy there. Next player I've got is pretty easy, Harley Reid. I wasn't a fan of him after the first preseason game, but second preseason game, basically playing pure mid. You know, that's what we want. We're not going to expect monster scores from him every week, but easily best 22, shouldn't get dropped. Otherwise, the WA media will go mad. It's what you want to see. And number one picks are pretty worthwhile putting in your team sometimes. Afterwards, after him, I have Alex Sexton playing defense halfback. He scores a 73 every week. Fantastic. The week previous to this, he did come out and score a 115 plus. So, you know, the role's there. We saw Buderick do really well. We saw Powell do really well. And one of the sketchy things was, hey, do one of those people knock Sexton out of being a player you can field every week? The answer is really no. That didn't happen. That's not what we're looking for. And, hey, I'm bloody happy about that. On my bench is a little bit speculative at the moment, but I've got Chris Burgess. Now, Tex is not playing this week. Hillthorpe is not playing for a long time. Burgess can ruck. He can kick goals in the forward line. And as the coach says, he looks pretty good and he could be a crucial part to the team. We're not expecting monster numbers, but I reckon he could average a 50, 60 pretty easy if he plays every week. There's a lot of players like a Seth Campbell around the same price who could do well for us that's already named and already played a game before. Maybe I'll end up swapping into him depending on what happens with the team, but just have to wait and see for that. Our last player is Aaron Cadman. Is rucking, is playing forward line. Yes, it's pretty stacked with Riccardi, Hogan, and Brown in that forward line. So probably doesn't get the number one spot, but he was a number one pick, has signed a long-term contract extension. You know he's going to play every week, barring like an injury or incredibly poor form. He's not going to play. So that's kind of why he's in my team. Now, ruck line, I would have loved to pick English. I would have loved to pick English, boys. I just can't afford it. I've never had Tim English in my team. I want to rush to get Tim English as much as I can. And depending on what my midfield mix looks like, I could end up having Tim English in here by the end of the week. So we'll wait and see for that. I have gone the typical Gawn and Grundy. And the big thing is that I know Joe's been talking a lot about Gawn, and it's gone all over the media, everything like that, or at least in the SUPERCOACH AFL media. Not so much the big media, which is one of the big problems with kind of that knowledge and the way it's going for me. I'm waiting to see what happens, but all we've heard from Gawn is, cool, I came into the game, I wasn't feeling well. Well, that could mean partly why he was on the bench for a long time or didn't get as involved. And if that's the case, cool, Max Gawn, there's nothing wrong with you. He did score a 72, which kind of deflates his cash in a little bit. But if he comes out next week and pops a 150 on English, which could easily happen, his break-even's basically reset. So, you know, if he scored an 80 to 100, I'd be much happier last week. But I'm going to take the punt at the moment. There's a lot of players like a Briggs, a Rowan Marshall, and potentially even a Cherry or a Luke Jackson that you could go down to if you had to. I'm looking to kind of go up potentially to an English, but big wait and see for next week and big wait and see for tomorrow when the team sheets drop as well. Joe and I have been debating Sam Naismith as being a good R3 option. I just don't think we can do it. Naismith was not named. And, you know, he did have that good round 1 score, round 0 score. But Richmond do not have a lot of very exceptional Sunday, Saturday night games. They do have quite a few, don't get me wrong, but there are a few Thursday and Wednesday sprinkled in there. And if you're holding out that Nank's going to be injured for a while, it's going to be a tough sell for me. So I've gone Livingston, same as a lot of other people. It is what it is. Now, the midfield is the trickiest part of being able to pick your team this year. And I really did come in with just picking the rookies. I just wanted players who I know are going to play every week, who should do well, and then build the team off the rest of my money. It's been tricky. It's been really hard for me. There's been in and out, in and out, in and out plays the whole way. But I've kind of picked a team that I'm happy with at the moment. We'll wait for team sheets to come out tomorrow. But definitely for this video, I'm not going to touch the rest of my team. Now, trickiest way to do it is basically ownership wise. And we've spoken a lot previously about letting the other people do the hard work. You know our motto, we do the hard work so you don't have to. Well, all the people here have done the hard work so you guys don't have to. Riley Sanders, 73%, you know he's going to play. Darcy Wilson, 64%, you know he's going to play. And Colby McKercher, who I have been a little bit coy on recently, but I've put him in my team. I've held strong. North Melbourne boy. If he's named back pocket, watch out, because he might be in the bin for me, but at the moment not. Jai Clark, 56%. Should be a lot higher. Half the competition does not have Jai Clark. And my last player at the moment, who's a rookie, is Matt Roberts. Cool. I'm happy with that. Now, next up on our list, we spoke about him all preseason as basically a must-have. You must have this guy in your team, is Bontempelli. Fantastic player. At the very least, is a captain option every week, and that's what we want. Especially with us not running a loophole. Yes, I do have one, but a lot of players aren't running a loophole. And, you know, if you're hoping Naismith potentially kind of ruins R3 for a lot of people, but some people do have him or maybe Conway or some other players, you can basically lock in Bont every week. So that's all I'm trying to say. I do have Tom Green as one of my midfield selections. I'm a little bit sketch on Tom Green just because of having 2 buys versus a lot of other players. But look at his run. Like North Melbourne this week. I'm pretty sure they play West Coast the week after and then have a bye. Like he could almost cover his score with those two weeks. So it's 50-50 at the moment. If I can get some more cash somewhere in my team, it potentially could be an LDU or someone else. But big wait and see for me at the moment. Next up on my list is Nick Martin. Now, we know we've spoken about him. We know what he's going to do at Essendon. He's going to play that halfback Nick Dacos role, and that's why he's in the team. At the moment, I wanted to try and lock in as many midfielders as I could and guys who are going to be keepers for me for the whole year. I've been toying with Ollie Wines and Matt Crouch and doing a few other crazy things, and I just can't do it to myself. Like, cool, Ollie Wines going to be great at the start, but I really need to be convinced with having to put him in and potentially trading him out. And even when he was fit, his scoring wasn't bananas. I'll have to have a relook again at his average at Adelaide Oval and his scoring over the last couple of weeks to see where I'm at and how I'm feeling. But in this team, he's not in there at the moment. Next up on my list is Zach Butters. We know what he does. Kid's fantastic. He's going to play this week. He did have that ankle thing, but I think he's basically over it at the moment, so we don't need to worry. And Jordan Dawson is the one that I'm a little bit worried with at the moment. With Crouch, with Berry, who is in my side, guys, don't worry about that. With those 2 players in there, Laird's been pushed out. Isaac Rankin's come in a little bit as well. And then Dawson has been moved around so much. I love the player. I love the pick. But if he's not getting bulk midfield minutes, I hope his ceiling is not capped this year, unless 1 or 2 of those guys get injured. Praying for injuries is never good, but praying for poor scoring in SuperCoach isn't either. He's probably going to score your 110 every week, which is fantastic. But at almost 460K or 450K, it's pretty hard to justify if you're not going to get those 130 plus weeks or consistently, big scores every so often. So something to watch. I don't know. But starting him, fantastic. No early buys and kind of out pushes Tom Green in that respect, which I'm happy about. My last player, as I said, is Sam Berry. And if you speak to the presser, you watch the presser that the coach did today, he basically named Berry as one of their most important players. 3 or 4 years in the system, has done really well in the preseason. Another player, as I said, with Jordan and Crouch, who are going to make space for people, make space for these youngsters like Berry. Rankin's coming in. It is what it is. So we're not going to keep him all year, obviously. But if you can get to 400K, which I think he definitely can, it's scored 100 in the preseason game, guys. It was versus West Coast, which is definitely something, but, he does quite well at home. And I think Adelaide Oval is one of the smaller contested grounds as well, so something to look out for there. Let me save my team and optimize. Cool. And that is the side at the moment. One of the big things for starting your team is try not to overthink things too much. Try not to go bananas and try and, points match and do all these other things. I spoke at the start about how influential round 0 could be and how influential it is for a lot of people's teams, especially the preseason games as well, where guys like Riley Bonner go 130 and it's like, oh, got to jump on Riley Bonner. I think Berry's a little bit different just for the role, but yeah, something to watch out for there. SuperCoach is all about your upgrades throughout the season. 50% is your starting team. Cool. But it is not the solid 50%. You cannot win with having a good starting team if you do not make the choices throughout the year, which is one of the big things. And it's one of the things that a lot of people just don't really pick up on. Make your team, make sure you've got your cash gen, make sure you've got your scoring, but then make sure you've got an idea of the players you want to bring in and the times you want to bring in. We're going to be doing a lot of content throughout the year of, hey guys, these are the ones you should look for this week, things like that. So jump on for those. It's going to be fantastic. Let me know down in the comments, what's your team looking like? Where do you rate my team? Should I have Ollie Wines in there? Am I missing a certain player or a certain rookie? Let me know. Well, guys, that's my team for the 2024 SuperCoach AFL season. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. As I said at the start, it's been bloody fantastic. If you haven't already, smash that sub button. We'll see you guys in the live stream tomorrow. There's going to be a lot of talk, a lot of things happening. It's going to be amazing. So stay tuned for that. If you haven't already, jump on our SuperCoach League. The information will be down in the description below. There's 3 amazing prizes you guys can win. And if you haven't already as well, I'm not using it today, but check out the SuperCoach mod down in the description as well. Stay tuned for some more content, guys. Hopefully you guys have an amazing season. And here at the Centre Bounce, we do the hard work so you don't have to. Bye for now.